Hey guys, Anime Gypsy here with Shokugeki no Soma, third plate, 10th episode review. And before I get into the review, I'd like to apologize because this isn't coming to you on time. It's not a day late, but it's not as early as it should be. And, I'm going through exam week, so please excuse me. I really didn't have the convenience of choosing what time to do this in. Well, I had a presentation to do, I had stuff that I had to finish. But that aside, guys, actually, no, it's 1 week before exam week. Okay, never mind. That aside, guys, let's get into the review of Shokugeki no Soma, episode 10. And I'd like to say, as usual, I will start by giving my rating to the episode. My rating today is a 7 out of 10. A straight 7 out of 10. It's above average. Well, I'm not going to say above average because most Shokugeki no Soma episodes are at about the 7, 8 range. Like that's where they normally are because they're just very good episodes. And the series is a above average series in my perspective because of the animation, the music, and the uniqueness of the story itself. But that aside, it's pretty much a average episode, but it's above average when you count it towards actual regular anime episodes. And that's because it's Shokugeki no Soma. So what you gonna do? Um, the reason it got a 7 is because of the music. That's the only reason. It would have gotten a lower score if it wasn't for the music. I thought for some reason the music was very good this episode. If it wasn't for the music, this episode, sorry, if the music wasn't there, this episode would have probably gotten a rating of 6 or 5.5. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's just this atrocious flaw. One of the judges, Oyazumi Kakinoshin, uh, actually one of my favorites because his expressions are pretty good. The old man that was seen in other episodes, that guy, he how should I explain this? He was drawn in a way that made you question whether the artist that was in charge of drawing him was sober or not. I was worried about the artist who drew him. I was wondering if he was having a seizure while drawing this character. I actually no, I wonder if this guy had a seizure, was medicated with medical marijuana and started drawing the show, because and drinking at the same time, because this guy, he screwed up the art, just not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times, just off model, just blatantly off model, not even close. And by the way, speaking of smoking and stoners, and if you're a stoner and you're watching this while being stoned, this is probably the worst show to watch while you're stoned. Just saying. You'd probably go to Taco Bell, order 100 tacos. I actually had a friend who did that. It's pretty dumb. His intestines weren't doing well. Okay, that aside, let's get to the chapter. The chapter has 6 parts altogether, 6 points of story progression, and we start with a understanding of Rentaro from a skill standpoint, from a power standpoint, so to speak, because this is Shokugeki no Soma, and cooking ability is power. And what I'm trying to say here, what I'm getting at is in the first pre-intro scene, we get to see that Rentaru's, advance just we get to see that he's on par with Kurokiba from knife skill perspective. From a knife skill perspective. Now you might ask, well, just knife skill perspective. It doesn't measure cooking well. Let me remind you guys, overall, knife skill comes with experience, comes with how much you've cooked stuff, and it's a good way of telling a chef's skill by looking out at how well he handles his stuff, how he cuts it, and that type of stuff. Because if he is very good at cutting, he's very good at cooking because he's been doing it for a long time. And that aside, we're talking about him parring in knife skills with Kurokiba in the middle of a match, or rather in the beginning of a match with fish. His ability to cut salmon is on par with Kurokiba, the guy that grew up in a port and had to fight for his survival via staying head chef at from a very young age. Like this guy's backstory was intense. This guy at what, like 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9, started cooking as head chef of a port restaurant in Denmark, and he had to outcook all the chefs. It was basically, cooking was a matter of putting food on the table for him ever since he was at a very young age. So this guy is no joke. This guy is the real deal. This guy is the seafood master. And, it was his skills with seafood that kept him alive and kept food on the table back when he was a kid. And to have someone like Rentaru basically match that, geez, you serious? That's impressive. Now that's the pre-intro scene, and the post-intro scene, the second scene, we get a look at the other halls, and we see Nana Kinokuni and Saito Somui. I really like that character. I'm not gonna say more. You guys, when get later on in the series, you're gonna like him. I think pretty interesting guy. And we get an understanding that Central is just wiping the floor with them. It's just fodder everywhere. It's like nobody's even a match for these guys, especially the Elite 10 member. Guys, if anything, put the Elite 10 member on a platter above every single student. Just raise them up there. Just keeping it clear, guys. No, like nobody's a match for them. Just plain and simple. Just keep that in your heads. And you're gonna say, oh, Aizen lost Soma. Yeah, he did, but you have to realize, A, he didn't plan the recipe like Soma did. B, he came up with the recipe on the spot. And C, he didn't take it seriously because he thought the judges were bots. So, it's not like in a all-out fight between two members, one Elite 10 and one Soma won. No, that's not how that works at all. Now, second scene, we just get to see the demolition that is the Elite 10, that is Central, and the seriousness that is Central. And then we transition to the third scene, and it's probably the longest scene in the entire anime, and that scene is the Rentoro hype train scene. That bit in story progression. I mean, you would think, and this was the impression I got while reading the manga, you would think that, oh, this guy's unbeatable. This guy, geez, he has Ikumi's temperature skills. He has Alice's advanced technology skills. He has this. He has that. You can't beat the guy. That's what you think when you watch the series. When I read the manga, that's what I thought. And it's pretty interesting to see a character like him being built up in that fashion, and then sequentially brought down. It was a quick the way some characters are hyped is that you give little snippets of how awesome they are and make the hype build. But the way Rentaru's hype started is you gave a lot of hype. One episode it shot up, and then came back down. So it was an interesting way of managing his hype that worked solely for this episode, in my perspective. Even though I guarantee a lot of people didn't take him seriously, but for the purposes of the episode, I think that was fine, especially since it's. And from the purposes of the story, I think this is fine because overall, I don't personally think he's gonna be that important of a character later on. Now, the third scene, it's still the hype train, and you have this awesome dish that Rentoru serves, and that dish is salmon with bacon on it. And he uses thermal sense to cook the dish so that the salmon is how should I explain this? The salmon using his ability, using the ability that I said Ikumi has, that he has as well with managing temperature. He's able to cook the salmon so it's not, it doesn't harden, and at the same time it's nice and juicy. And that's very hard to do, guys, because salmon is one of those things that If you just mess up a little bit, it's gonna be wrong, and it's easy to tell. So it's one of those ingredients that it's very easy to screw because like overcooked salmon even slightly, big difference, huge difference. And if you overcook it by like a medium margin, then it's just gonna taste awful. It's a mistake that beginning chefs make all the time. Um, it's just the way it is with salmon specifically. And also another ingredient that he used, olive oil. Olive oil is a very risk. I mean, it's used in a lot of cooking, but one of the things some people don't know about olive oil is there is a huge difference between well cooked olive oil and overcooked olive oil. Well cooked olive oil, mwah, perfect. Overcooked olive oil, even by a little margin, just tastes like crap. You won't want to taste the dish. You won't even want to look at the dish. You won't even want to smell the dish. Now, we also get to find out that he was able to make ice cream out of salmon. And I'd like to point out that, this episode gives the impression that this type of method to make ice cream out of fish is, only created through high tech, but in actuality, it isn't because back in, well, not so long ago, but a while ago, during the days of the founding fathers of the US, one of the first ladies of the founding fathers actually really liked oyster ice cream. I think it was Madison's wife, but I'm not sure. You guys could find out which one it was, but I'm 100% certain that one of their wives was just obsessed with oyster ice cream. That's one of the things from a history book that just stuck with me. Uh, Now the use of thermal sense I covered, which is the actual material has two different temperatures due to the way it's cooked and how that sometimes complements the taste of a dish. It's very hard to do, and Alice says that if you're gonna use advanced tech, you actually need to be smart in the noggin. You can't be and mind you guys, this guy has a private collection of ovens. Of all the things you could collect, ovens. Fine, yeah, all right, and we transition to the next story, the next scene, which really isn't that important in terms of story progression. And that scene is basically Erina getting the full Kyosuke Polar Star Dorm treatment. And what I mean by that is Ishiki does the whole hiding in the attic thing, and her expression is priceless. I love that scene. That scene was amazing. Just saying. And now we go to the fifth scene, and this point in story progression where it's who's gonna win. I don't know. It's even. Two dishes are even. And by the way, the dish that Kurokiba ends up serving is called kulbiak. I believe that's how it's pronounced, kulbiak. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If I have any Russian viewers, I probably pronounced it wrong. Kulbiaka. Oh, kulbiaka. I think that's how it's pronounced in Russian. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If I have a Russian viewer, and it was pretty good, and we don't know how good it is until the revelation hits us. Kurokiba's been using spices a lot. The same guy who's been dissing spices since the autumn festival, the guy that says that Akira Hayama is hiding behind spices. That same guy is resorting to spice use, a lot of it. you know, and we find out that by some miracle, you have him being transferred to a curry place where he learned how to use spices and create spice blends that are efficient. And by the way, and mind you, he created his own spice blend, which takes a lot of skill. Um, and it was just so funny. And I'm just throwing this. I am 100, now I'm 200% sure that Senzai Mon had it in his noggin that it would do Kurokiba a lot of good to put him in a place where he could learn about spices, especially because um, fish is one of those ingredients that would fare well with spices because it's a very delicate ingredient, unlike meat. it's an interesting experience cooking fish. I'm actually working on a salmon dish right now, which is why this episode made me feel like shit, because their dishes were amazing, my dish was crap. It's salmon with a nut sauce on rice with hot sauce. But that's an interesting story. Sorry, that's another story for another day. And we get to the conclusion. We find out that that spice blend that Kurokiba used in his dish was a winning factor. And Kurokiba not only used that, he pulled the technique out of the French playbook. He made a spinach clip and folded the salad. I was salivating when I saw this. I was salivating, but sadly, there is bacon in the spice mix, and Muslims can't eat bacon. Why you do this to me, Kurokiba? Why? Looking at you. So, overall, yeah, you have Kurokiba at the very end giving Rentaru a good old bowl of his dish, telling him, "Hey, you don't believe I won? Try it." The good old Soma trick, the good old, wagario, like straight out of the Soma handbook, right there. Just all I have to say. All right, so yeah, that's my review for the episode. If you have anything that you disagree with me on, please comment down below. If you think the review is too long, please tell me. If you have any tips for me, I would be more than grateful. If you want to start a discussion, I'm sorry, I might not be able to get to you, but I mean, sure, I don't mind, but I'd probably have to reschedule it to, about 2 weeks from now due to school. Yeah. It's interesting because I review anime, but I take Chinese as a class. Don't you find that hilarious? Okay, never mind. I'll just finish my review here. Anime Gypsy out.